So Rika came from Finland, and luckily enough, she was going to come to Manchester to study a Master's degree in art. I think truly she just came to be part of this project. But as soon as she did come to Manchester, we started working on this project seriously, and we started thinking seriously fan-factual. Now, I mean, one thing about the books that I'm sure a lot of you feel is that the Warner Brothers films didn't exactly explain a lot about the books, and I mean, really.
I mean, they do explain a lot, but I mean, did any of you guys have the feeling after seeing the films that there's so much more in the magical world, and actually some really silly things have been changed? And why? Why on earth? I mean, why is Neville giving the jillyweed, not Dobby? I mean, these very small things, and I'm like, why on earth do we change these things? And what we want to do with Mudblood is to actually make it for the fans.
Absolutely. So here's Charlie Fowler, our young hero. So Charlie Fowler is a young Hufflepuff student, and unfortunately he's got a bit of a temper on him. Now, he has had a very unfortunate life, you see, because his mum and dad both muggles, and unfortunately when Charlie was a young toddler, his older brother was studying at Hogwarts during the Battle of Hogwarts, and of course Charlie's aunts and uncles were all wizards, and they kind of skipped generations. So Charlie Fowler's father heard about the battle going on, and he thought, I have to go to Hogsmeade, I have to try my best to save my son. And so Charlie's father went to Hogsmeade, he rounded up the wizards and said, look, we've got to go do this. And no wizard would ever kind of shy out of that once a muggle put himself forward without a wand. And unfortunately, Charlie's dad and brother both died in the battle. And so Charlie was left with his mother and his younger sister, which...
Mother never really recovered from that. Maybe single mother with his two kids, and she does not like magic.
Absolutely,
Just
no.
posing a threat to her and her loved ones.
She's a muggle, she works as a nurse, she doesn't really understand the wizarding world all that much, and of course she resents it, taking her young boy and her husband.
And to crack on with the story, what
Sure.
actually happens to Charlie?
Okay, so Charlie Fowler one day is in Hogwarts, and group of Slytherins start
We're not all
bullying.
bad.
We're not all bad.
Stereotypes.
Absolutely not. But of course, this has happened multiple times throughout the whole of Charlie's existence at Hogwarts. And finally, he just snaps and he loses it. And unfortunately, he ends up putting one of the Slytherin students in hospital.
But to be honest, this isn't the first time. I mean, Charlie is a pretty troubled teenager, and he does have a temper. And this is the third time that he actually was pushed so far in the bullying that he actually ends up retaliating with a dangerous style.
So after he gets expelled, he goes back home and he's awaiting a serious punishment. Now, I know what you're thinking, what happens in Hogwarts stays in Hogwarts, but this one's different. See, when Charlie attacked Felix Trotter was seriously injured, and because this is the third time it happened, the Ministry don't believe Hogwarts can handle this anymore. So,
Let's talk a little bit about the Ministry now. I mean, consider the reign of Voldemort. The Ministry was absolutely ridiculous. It was basically a puppet government of Voldemort. So when the reign of Voldemort is over, they really need to take a good long look in the mirror and think, how on earth did this happen? So now Ministry has decided that we need to be way more careful and strict and change the power structures within the Ministry so we can be sure that this kind of incidents can never happen again in the Ministry. So they found out, thanks to Department of Mysteries, this very dangerous and interesting attribute. They found out how to tap into the magical power of witches and wizards, and they also found out a way to take the capability of magic away from them.
completely, absolutely completely.
Now, what do we think about this? I thought it was pretty outrageous. It's pretty out there, but it's good. But as fans, what do you think about it? Ministry of Magic taking away magic from witches and wizards because they think that they will propose a threat to the society.
Okay, cool. Well, we had loads of kids yesterday, and they couldn't help but say it. But no, obviously this was one of the first things.
Steve has one.
Go on, Eve.
They actually did something for once. Welcome.
Absolutely, they're doing something which is going to hopefully stop these threats from happening. But of course, the first time I told Rika this, she flipped at me just as much as any other fan. And then, of course, what I love about Rika is that she knows Harry Potter so much that she's finding ways to justify this. And I think it's really important that we understand that we can never let Voldemort happen ever again.
I do have a magical theory for this, but it's a long story. So if you want to ask questions about it afterwards, come and talk to me, yeah?
So anyway, as we said, Charlie Fowler has a mean temper on him. And as you can imagine, a young teenage kid. Well, Preston, why don't you tell us what Charlie's feeling at this point?